having me. My name is Joseph Brascho. I am a graduate of Pell City High School, class of 2002. Not that that makes me any more qualified. I am currently employed at UAB Hospital and have been since 2008 and current role is as a utilization review specialist for the Department of Psychiatry and Addiction Recovery. My secondary role there is as a nurse for the adolescent psychiatric team. I am married to Lauren Brascho. She is a teacher at Coosa Valley Elementary School, and we will be celebrating our 14th anniversary next week. We have two children, one who is currently entering second grade at Coosa Valley Elementary, and one that will be entering it in 2 years, so get ready for her. And we made the decision shortly after we were married where we wanted to be and where we wanted to live. And we made the conscious effort, the conscious decision that we wanted to be here, that we wanted to grow where we were planted, that we wanted to continue to be part of the solution for Pell City. And we're happy and proud to be part of that. And I'm grateful to be considered by the committee.
Thank you. Please describe the role of a local school board member as you understand it. And why are you the best person to fill this position?
Well, obviously there's the AASB, boilerplate answers such as a governing body that collaborates with the student, with the superintendent. Obviously financial oversight. There for checks and balances. But I think what I understand the value of a good board member to be is understanding that it's imperative to be a board member that has an understanding that he or she is not the boss, but a member that collaborates well. I think it's imperative that a board member have that understanding, listens to our experts such as our teachers and our principals. I believe that the board should be aligned with a message that gives our community faith in the belief that we are working as a servant to the educational enrichment needs of their children. I had the good fortune of serving on the Planning and Zoning Committee here in Pell City for 7 of the last 8 years. That's not my background, but when doing that, I entered that position with a sense of openness and inquisitiveness to ask questions and understand that sometimes asking questions allows us to better understand and make decisions that are informed. And I feel that that is a primary need for a board member. And that you understand that you are a servant, not a boss, that you'd be willing to go to your schools, ask your principals or teachers what they need, not necessarily demand that you see improvement in certain places, but seek out what they need. They're the experts. Listen to them.
Okay. What are the most significant issues our school district is currently facing? And how will you propose the district address these challenges?
I think immediately establish a solid working relationship with Dr. Burns. The navigation of the transition of a new board, a new superintendent, I think it's imperative that we focus on establishing trust with our community to show that we are fighting to move in the same direction. Some of our teachers and principals probably have some concerns about if there's a major change in the Department of Education on a federal level, and how that could affect funding. How do we assure our teachers and our community that we will try to alleviate those fears? And how do we offset that potential cost? I think balancing funding with our current growth, which is happening, whether we like it or not, especially the growth of our student population. How do we meet those changing costs along with those needs? One example would be we're currently sitting on a campus that is landlocked. And so as we grow, we need to seriously consider, do you want a a railroad to go through your high school campus. So there are unique challenges there, and that is, I think, imperative not just immediately, but also in the strategic plan.
The Alabama State Department of Education scored Pell City Schools an 80 in 2022, an 81 in 2023, and an 83 in 2024. What are your thoughts on this trend and the trajectory of our school system overall?
Well, love the trend, but obviously we want an A. I think our current ESSER funding, which was often referred to as the COVID funding, is gone. That has been used, to my understanding, that has been used to supplement professional development, the increase in, and as well as summer school and reading programs, as well as tutoring. How much of that has contributed to our recent trending increase in scoring? And how do we supplement that funding to assure that that trend continues? And is there something equivalent to that in the reading department? Not the reading department, the math department. And I'm sure our teachers and our principals would probably, and our curriculum director would be aware of such programs. Is it possible to incorporate that along side by side with our reading program? How do we communicate to our students our expectations? Our expectations, yes, they should be realistic, but we should communicate to our students that an expectation that is almost unrealistic. How do we make our students believe that they are capable of excellence? Yes, we love the trend, we love the slant. How do we make the slant a slope when we look at that graph?
Thank you. Committee members, are there any follow-up questions? Jeff?
Joseph, on your application, you said one of your reasons for applying was one of the issues you spoke about was adolescent psychiatric care unit in the hospital. That's your experience. And you also said there's a lot of mental health challenges. As I asked Austin, what do you see as a mental health challenge and what type of patterns do you see going forward for our school, for our children?
Well, they're abundant. They are greatly impacted by social media. And when you look at terms of psychiatry, most of your major psychiatric episodes usually happen, especially for males, tend to occur between that 16 to 24 age range. So our high school and our counselors are dealing with those on campus. I couldn't tell you how many times where we've seen a student come through, and a patient come through, and something happened at school, and the counselor or teacher is the first person there for the student. Do our counselors have the resources and the time to meet those needs? When a student or a patient comes back after a mental health episode, what follow-up do they have on campus? And understand that that is valuable. Yes, the home is valuable, but also couldn't tell you how many times where a patient that had the greatest likelihood of success, meaning we weren't going to see them again, it happened because there was a teacher that came up there and provided their homework and gave them something to distract themselves, or a counselor did a well-checked call on them. It's vitally important, and I think obviously providing that resource, our counselors are amazing, but they're also limited in their time. How do we give them the resources needed to meet the needs of that population?
Any other questions?
Would you advocate then that there be a counselor in the school simply for that? Because I know at the high school, the counselors are not really counselors. They're getting kids applications for colleges. They are preparing the school for testing. They're test administrators. They're not really counselors anymore. So would you advocate for one person to be in each school for that particular reason?
I don't necessarily think it needs to be a counselor. We probably need to look along the lines of a social worker. And I know that may ruffle some feathers, but yes, funding is an issue, but as long as we're continuing to talk about behavior in the classroom as one of our particular challenges, then that's something that we need to be open to when it comes to funding. Now, whether or not one needs to be at every single campus, I can't say that definitively, but when we identify those students, how do we incorporate maybe someone that goes around and has a lot of time, whether it's 20 minutes every other week with a student that's identified as a student who needs those needs.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee? All right. What is your perception of our school district's current working and learning environment? And do you have ideas on how to ensure and maintain a positive environment?
I think it's vital that we have bottom-up communication. Information needs to move towards leadership, meaning that we should strongly consider the information that we get from our teachers and our principals, because they are the experts. When the expert on the front line gives us information, that's what allows us and allows any leadership to make truly informed decisions. I feel like we should empower our teachers to feel like they are supported and that we believe in their capabilities. Whether that be providing proven professional development opportunities for them so that they have the tools they need to effectively meet the associated challenges with our curriculum. And I also understand that there is change that's currently occurring, and that change is scary. So some of our teachers and our employees are probably concerned about what that change looks like. So we should communicate our belief in our teachers and our students and all of our employees, all of the school system's employees, that communicate to the point where almost over-communicating, just so that they feel assured that we're confident in their belief, confident in our belief in them and their capabilities.
Thank you. How important is long-term strategic planning for a school system? In what key areas should Pell City Schools prioritize such a plan?
I think knowledge of our funding needs is imperative. Balancing the ability to balance funding with growth is going to need to be incorporated, obviously. As our student population grows, there will be a cost associated with meeting their needs. Obviously, we mentioned we're on a landlocked campus, just where we are, just where we sit. We need to be able to sustain that growth because it is coming. We need to be able to sustain it in a way that considers the cost and the changing need of our student population. I think we also need to maintain a positive working relationship with our city and surrounding areas, and not just a plan, but we need to create some incremental steps and benchmarks. Otherwise, our plan is just a vision, and while a vision is wonderful, I think we need to see what those benchmarks are to get to that point. And again, maintaining that positive working relationship with our city. I mean, we're sitting in a building right now that 20 years ago wouldn't exist. That relationship is vital to our continued growth.
Thank you. How should the Board of Education effectively communicate with parents and the community? What steps would you take to establish and maintain trust in the board?
I think the boilerplate answer here has been transparency, and I think that is true. I also think we need to incorporate when does privacy need to be considered. Yes, we need to communicate and build, for the purposes of trust, communicate and build relationships within our community so that they trust us enough that when situations arise where privacy is necessary, whether it be involving a student or staffing, that our community trusts us enough to make the correct decision. People are smarter than we sometimes give them credit for. So if we effectively communicate the nuances associated with the challenging decisions that we have to make, we can maintain good faith on our commitment and with the community. I think, again, I go back to seeing ourselves as servants, meaning remove ego, foster an environment and a culture where the community feels invested in the success of not just our school system, but our students, whether that be their education, their career preparation, or any extracurricular activities that they're seeking to participate in. Regardless, I think we also need to be open to criticism, whether that be founded or unfounded. Because regardless whether it is that perception is founded or unfounded, it's important. The perception is important. And the perception that we should want to have within our community is a positive one, and so we need to work to communicate so that perception is positive.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the Pell City School System's curriculum's current structure? How should this district's curriculum balance college preparatory classes with vocational and life skills?
The importance of curriculum can't be overstated. As my understanding is at this moment, our current AP dual enrollment program and our current AP dual enrollment options are better than they've ever been. And we should celebrate that, but how do we continue to foster that? And that again goes back to empowering teachers to have the professional development they need to have those conversations and identify those students who will be college preparatory. Not every child is the same, and so we need to identify those students within our population, as well as monitoring economic trends so that we see opportunities for potential outlets such as collaborating with local businesses and manufacturers to incorporate multiple routes of preparation for our students' career paths. I also know that technology is imperative, and I know it comes with an added cost. However, our current information technology program, we're currently preparing students for jobs that don't exist, meaning they will exist. So how do we continue to foster that? Because that will change. That's a fluid topic. We should listen to and trust our curriculum specialists.
Okay, thank you.
Are we out of time?
We got about 50 seconds.
Got 50 seconds. Do you have a follow-up
You
question?
mentioned funding, so do you see the Board of Education as a fundraiser? I mean, not in terms of selling donuts or raffle tickets, but, lobbying the public for more money, maybe taxes, and are we short? Does this school system need more money? What's your opinion on that?
Whereas that might not be something that I view as the definitive role of a school board member, it is a part of, obviously there is oversight, making sure that there is trust amongst the community that we are spending that money appropriately. As far as fundraising, while it may not be their primary role, who better to advocate? If you're a board member and you're as a representative of the school system, why shouldn't you?
All right. Mr. Brascho, thank you so much for your time, your dedication to Pell City Schools. At this time, this concludes your interview.